Hi everybody, it's Nikki here and welcome to a Bookish Friday video. So today's video, well, I had to do it. Eventually this video was going to be done on my channel because this is the day that I discuss all my mermaid books. Yeah, because like, you know, if you know me at all, you know I love mermaids. If this is your first time visiting my channel, hi, my name's Nikki. I'm a 40-year-old woman and I'm absolutely madly in love with mermaids. Yeah, it's a thing. So I want to discuss today all of my mermaid books. I have broken them up into two categories, ones I've read, ones I haven't. So let's get started with the ones that I haven't read, because I can't really say much about them, because I haven't read them. So I don't know if they're any great, if they're any good. They should be, but let's not, yeah. I am not including books in here that have mermaids in, but they're not the main focus. So books like The Deep, yes, I know it has Siren as part of its selling theme, but the Siren part of The Deep by Alma Katsu is it's kind of like 5% of that story. The Deep by Alma Katsu, not to be confused with The Deep by River Solomon. I will be talking about that book as well. The Deep by Alma Katsu is the story about the Titanic with a siren element, but the siren element in it is minuscule, so I have not included that in this video in my mermaid books. The same with Peter Pan. Yes, there are mermaids in Peter Pan, but they're kind of like a side character. They're not the main focus. So there may be books that you're thinking, well, this book has mermaids and that book has mermaids. If they're not the main focus of the story, then I wouldn't class them as a mermaid book. Do you see? But if you know of any mermaid books that I don't mention in today's video, please give me a shout. Let me know, because I'm always up for buying and reading more mermaid books. There is one mermaid book I think that I have read via audiobook and I don't own it, and that is The Siren by Kira Cass, and I really enjoyed that one. And I am looking to purchase that one in the future, so there is that one as well. So let's go through the ones that I haven't read. We'll go through them quickly. So the first one I haven't read is Don't Tell Him I'm a Mermaid by Laura Kirkpatrick. This is actually the second book in this story. I think they were going to make it a series. Yeah, the second in a hilarious series about family, friendship and one big fishy secret. So I have read the first book, which you will see in a bit, and this is a story about a girl who turns into a mermaid, and this is the second installment. So there's that one. It is a middle grade, and I cannot wait to read this one. The next one is Lorelei by Laura Dockrill, An Extraordinary Mermaid in an Ordinary Town. There's lots of like text speech and instant messaging and stuff like that in here. So I'm guessing that it's going to be set in a school environment with kids discovering a mermaid in their midst. I'm kind of about this book, but I found it in a charity shop and it had mermaid scales on it and it was talking about mermaids, so I bought it. The next book, I'm not 100% sure that it does have mermaids as part of its focus, but I've put it with my mermaid books, but this may end up getting shifted out if it doesn't contain mermaids as a main part of its story. But it is The Huntress, Sea by Sarah Driver. I believe this is the first book in a series. And it just says, in the sky, the fire spirits dance and ripple. Grandma says they showed our tribe that I'd be a captain before I was even born. Sea churning, beast chattering, dream dancing, whale riding, pterodil flying, world saving adventure. I don't know if it has mermaids, but it looks like it might, so I've put it in with my mermaid books. So yes, we will see. This might have to move out of my mermaid section. The next book is definitely got mermaids in it. It's Sea Witch by Sarah Henning, and obviously the Sea Witch is Ursula, basically, from the Little Mermaid. So before the story of the Little Mermaid, there were 3 friends, one magic, one royal, and one already dead. So yeah, this reimagining of the origins of the Sea Witch from Hans Christian Andersen's classic The Little Mermaid is a heart-wrenching story of a girl pushed beyond her limits to become a monster. So this might not technically have mermaids in, but it's linked to The Little Mermaid, so I put it with my mermaid books. So again, this might be one that ends up getting shifted out of this section, but for now it's going to stay here until I've read it and find out. The next book is weird because you're going to think that doesn't look like a mermaid book, but it is called Atargatis by MC Watson. And according to Goodreads, nobody has ever read or rated this. This has 0 ratings and 0 people read it. But this is apparently when Atargatis was left on Earth by her parents Zeus and Hera, she was tasked with bringing justice and peace to the land of Syria in 3000 BC and swiftly became a goddess loved by her people. Apparently, Atargatis is the origin story for mermaids. Now, Atargatis was also the name of the ship in another mermaid story that I'm going to be discussing soon. So, I'm inquisitive. Like, I don't know what the leprechaun has to do with mermaids, but there's a fish on the back. So, and a big eye in the corner. But, yeah, this is apparently... Atargatis was the original mermaid in the legend. I don't know. I will read it and find out. The next book is definitely got mermaids in it because she's right there. This is Ice Massacre by Tiana Warner. I believe that this is an independent published book. And this says, a mermaid's supernatural beauty serves one purpose, to lure a sailor to his death. Now, I believe mermaids are the pretty whimsical things, and it is sirens who actually lure sailors to their death. So, sirens, mermaids, same thing. But yes, there is blood coming from this tale. So I'm hoping this is going to be another kind of dark and twisted kind of mermaid story, which I've recently discovered I really enjoy. So yes, it's that one. The next one, I cannot decide if I've read this or not. I cannot remember it for the life of me. I should have. I'm sure I have. And it's The Twisted Tale, Poor Unfortunate Soul, by... Who are these by? Serena Valentino. I'm sure I've... Anyway, I was just thinking, hang on a minute, that looks familiar. So I'm sure I've read this, but I can't remember it. And how did the Sea Witch Ursula become so twisted and filled with anger and hatred? I can't remember it. So I've put it in my haven't read yet, even though I might have. I just can't remember. So, yeah, I'm going to read that. The next book is actually the second book in a duology. The first book being Daughter of a Pirate King. And so this one is Daughter of the Siren Queen by Tricia Levenseller. The first book I have with all my other fantasy books, but this one sits with all my mermaid books so that I know that this one is the mermaid one. So yes, I really love this art here. So this is the second book, so I don't know what the first one is about, but this one is about the daughter of a Siren Queen. So looking forward to this one. I have read a Tricia Levenseller book before and I really enjoyed her writing, so really looking forward to that duology. The next book is stunning. It is Mermaid Moon by Suzanne Kokol. So it looks like that. And this one, oh, underneath the dust jacket, look at that. Isn't that stunning? And it's got sprayed edges. I got this off Amazon, actually. This is beautiful, absolutely stunning. And this one is Blood Calls to Blood, Charm Calls to Charm. It's the way of the world. Come close and tell us your dreams. Sana is a mermaid, except her mother was landish, not seavish. So her mother was from the land, and she goes in search of her mother. And yes, I think the artwork on this cover is just stunning and beautiful, and I can't wait to read this. The next book is one of my newest books that I recently purchased. I wasn't intending to purchase any books, but then I saw this one. Feathertide by Beth Cartwright. A girl, a secret, a life-changing journey. Look at this gold foiling, stunning. And Mermaid Ale. So this one says, Maria has always known she was different. She was born covered in the feathers of a bird, so at first you're thinking, that's got nothing to do with a mermaid. But then her curiosity leads her to the city of Murmurs, a place of mermaids and mystery, where jars of swirling mist are carried through the streets by the broken-hearted, and Maria will never forget what she finds there. So, yes, I'm very excited to see what this one is. This one doesn't have any fancy covers, it's just plain blue on the inside. So yeah, I'm very excited to read this one. And the last book that I haven't read yet, but it is on my August TBR, so maybe by the time this video goes up, I am pre-filming this, so maybe by the time you've watched this, I might have read it, but you will see me giving you a, hopefully, a review of this book in my August wrap-up, because hopefully I will have read it by then. And that is The Mermaid, the Witch and the Sea by Maggie Takuda Hall. So yes, I mean, it's got mermaid in the title, so I'm assuming there's a mermaid in here, even though I can't see any. Oh, there she is at the bottom. She's right there. There she is. So yeah, this is on my August TBR, so maybe by the time this video goes up, I might have read it, I don't know. But yeah, so this could already be swapping piles for whether I've read it or not. So yes, that is that. So those are all the books that I have not read that I own that contain mermaids, or I believe to contain mermaids. Okay, so all the books that I have read, let's go through them now. Let's start off with the first book ever that made me fall in love with mermaids. I have shown this to you before and discussed this with you before, and that is this one. This is the Ladybird's Favourite Tales, The Little Mermaid. I used to have a load of these when I was a kid, and this was the first Little Mermaid story that I read and absolutely fell in love with. Why they stopped making these, I'll never know. The artwork in here is just stunning. I absolutely love the artwork in here, and I just wanted to be a mermaid. This was the beginning of my love for Little Mermaids. This story of this beautiful princess who falls in love with a boy and trades her tail for sea legs to try and get him to fall in love with her, but he ends up marrying somebody else, and she ends up turning into like a creature of the air, daughters of the air, sorry. We earn our souls by helping anyone who suffers, and you can earn a soul too. So yes, I love this story so much. It has such a nostalgic and important place in my heart, and I love it so much, even though I am a 40-year-old woman, and this is a first reader's kind of book. The text in it is probably maybe for a, I don't know, 5 or 6-year-old, maybe you can read that, maybe 7 or 8, I don't know, I can't remember. But yeah, I love it. So yes, thank you, Ladybird, for helping me fall in love with mermaids. So it's your fault. The next book I've read is the first book in that Laura Kirkpatrick series that I talked about earlier, and this is the first book called And Then I Turned Into a Mermaid. So yes, as I say, Molly Seabrook thought she had enough to worry about. She has to dress up as a haddock to advertise her family's fish and chip shop, and her best friend has joined the popular gang without her, and then she turns into a mermaid. So it's quite a comical book. Laura Kirkpatrick, she's Laura Stephen. So yeah, Laura Kirkpatrick is her middle grade writing name, but for her YA she's known as Laura Stevens. Stephen, sorry. She had a change in name because she didn't want her younger readers picking up the exact opposite of okay, because maybe it's not appropriate for them. So yeah, but I love this book. I love it so much. It was so funny. It had Laura's sense of humour, which I really enjoy. So yeah, really good little book. I really enjoyed it. I read it in one sitting. That's how much I enjoyed this. So yeah, and it is about less than 200 pages, just over 200 pages. I read it in one sitting. I loved it. I gorged on it. So that's that one. The next book I have read is The Deep by River Solomon. Now, I will say that when I reviewed this book in my June TBR wrap-up, I don't think I gave this the credit that it needs. This book is about these water-dwelling descendants of pregnant African slave women who were thrown overboard by their slave owners. And we have the story of Yetu, who holds all the memories because the memories are too painful for everyone to keep. So only one of the mermaids holds the memories, and then once a year she shares them with everyone so that they can all remember who they are and where they come from, and then they give all those memories back to Yetu for her to hold again. But while she gives them the memories, she is free from the memories, even though she still remembers them, but she's free from the stress of holding on to these memories all by herself, and she's able to go off and have a bit of freedom for a moment. I didn't give this the credit and the respect that it deserved, and that is my fault. And I am very sorry that I didn't understand this the way it was meant. I have since watched a review of this by an Own Voices, well, I say Own Voices, from a person of colour, and their understanding of this book was so much more meaningful and so much more heartfelt, and it really made me rethink about my thoughts about it. So yes, for me, I didn't understand the importance of this book. I will hopefully reread this again in the future and give it the respect that it deserves and the understanding and the time that it deserves as well, because I didn't give it that the first time I read it. I just read it as a mermaid book and completely missed the whole point, and that is my fault, and I take the blame for that. But yeah, I highly recommend that you pick this up and give it a read, and not make the same mistake that I did. Give it the respect that it deserves, and please watch a review from a person of colour to really get the information and the emotional feeling behind this book. Don't listen to me. I'm not the person that this book really needs to, that really speaks to. So yeah, I did enjoy this. I will say I did enjoy it, but I didn't get it as much as I should have. So yeah, there's that one. The next book that I've read is The Mermaid by Christina Henry. She has a couple of books that are kind of like retellings of popular classic fairy tales, and this one, the mermaid falls in love with a fisherman, but mermaids don't age the same as humans, and eventually the fisherman dies and she is left alone, and then P.T. Barnum comes along and takes her to become part of his circus. I didn't think much to it. It was a good story. It wasn't anything great. It's okay. I would like to try and read some of her other books, but I wouldn't say that I am rushing out to buy them. But it was enjoyable. It was okay. Yeah, I can't say much more than that. Now the next book, it doesn't per se have mermaids, but you'll understand. The Wicked Deep by Shay Earnshaw. Now this is kind of mermaids versus Hocus Pocus. Can I say that? So we have three sisters who 2 centuries ago were sentenced to death for witchcraft. But they cast a curse, I believe, where they come back every summer, steal the bodies of 3 girls and seek revenge by dragging boys into the ocean. Once each sister has dragged their boy into the ocean, their spirits return back to the ocean and the town is free of them for another year until the next summer. And every year the locals know that this is happening. They know that 3 girls are going to be overtaken, and we have this year Penny Talbot has accepted the town's fate. Then on the eve of the sisters' return, Bo Carter arrives unaware of the danger he has just stumbled into, or the fact that his arrival will change everything. This book broke me. I cried like a baby, and for the first time I wanted the characters to do the wrong thing. I'm normally the sort of person, I want everybody to do what's right, but in this I was like, don't do what's right. No, don't do what's right. Please don't do what's right. Do the wrong thing. Please do the wrong thing. I loved this book. I absolutely loved this book. Shay Earnshaw also wrote Winterwood, and I love that book as well. That one doesn't have mermaids in. Technically this one doesn't either, but it's sea based, and I kind of love it enough that I put it with my mermaid books. It technically doesn't have mermaids in, but I love it, and yeah, so it's beautiful. It's based on the water. Look at this hand coming out of the water there. I love it. It's just, I love it. Yes. It needs a reread, actually. I need to reread that. The next book I actually only finished in July, so I'm not going to go on too much about it, because if you want to know about this one, you'll have to watch my July wrap-up, which should have gone up before this video, and that is Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant. This is a horror story with killer mermaids, and this book was brilliant. I loved it, and I was shouting at this book. You know when you're watching a movie and you're like, no, don't go that way? That's what I was doing to this book. I loved it. It was brilliant. Excellent. I loved it. This is the book that I mentioned earlier with a Targetis. That's the name of the ship in this. So that's where I think a Targetis does have something to do with mermaids. Because, yeah, it's in this book as well. So I love this. Highly, highly recommend you pick this book up. It's a little slow in the beginning with a lot of scientific information, but get past that to the juicy bit at the end. That might be the wrong way to describe this book, but yes, really enjoyed this one. Okay, the next book. I've spoken about this book a few times. I'm going to try not to rant about it again. This one. This is The Surface Breaks by Louise O'Neill. This is a reimagining of The Little Mermaid. This book is a feminist retelling of The Little Mermaid. Now, please don't think that because I hated it that you will hate it as well. Please, this book is beautiful. I mean, it's stunning. The hardback itself, underneath the dust jacket, is scales. It's the only reason why I'm keeping hold of this book. If I had bought the paperback version, I would have rehomed it. I would have got rid of it. I would have took it into a charity shop and let somebody else have it. But because this is such a beautiful edition, I can't let go of it. But I hate this book. This is the only mermaid book I have ever given a 1 star to, and I felt like the author was hitting me across the head with a cricket bat, going, women are good and men are bad. It was so aggressive. I just felt such aggression in this book, that men were evil, misogynistic, sexist, rapist, bad people, and I'm getting annoyed. I said I wouldn't rant, didn't I? I did not like this book. I gave it 1 star. I'm only keeping it because it's beautiful, but please don't let that put you off reading it. If you like a feminist book, then please pick it up, but yeah, that's all I'm going to say. Okay, the next book is Fathomless by Jackson Pierce, and Jackson Pierce is actually a woman. I honestly thought it was a man with a name like Jackson, but it's not. It is a woman, and this is another story that is kind of based on the mermaids. So basically, we have a mermaid, or a girl of the sea. We have a young girl, a human girl, and a human boy who are talking on the pier. The boy trips and falls over the side of the pier and into the water, and as the human girl runs down to try and see if she can help him, the mermaid comes along and she ends up saving him, pulling him onto the sand and saving his life. But when the people come to help, all they see is the human girl, so they believe that she saved his life. So we have this triangle going with the human girl, the mermaid girl, and the human boy. And they all sort of get to know each other without realising that each other knows each other. And it was a very interesting story. We have the mermaid girl, actually when she comes on land and she gets her feet, it has the original story where her feet literally are cut like as if she's walking on glass. So her feet are in excruciating pain every step that she takes on land. And I think that is part of the original Hans Christian Andersen story. I like that is in this one. It was really, really interesting. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So yeah, that is that one. The next book is To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo. And again, this is like a retelling of The Little Mermaid. In here we have Kira, I want to say. Lyra, sorry. We have Lyra, who is a siren, and every year she kills a prince and takes his heart. But one year it's not her turn to take the heart, and so she is punished and made to go on land. She's given legs by her mother, and she's forced to go on land. Meanwhile, there is a prince, a human prince called Elian, and he is a siren hunter, and he finds this human girl floating in the ocean, and he rescues her and wonders why she is a little scared of everybody and a little bit feisty towards everybody. Turns out that is Lyra. And yeah, the prince is on a quest to find something that will help defeat the Siren Queen, and Lyra is just wanting to get back at her mother, so she helps on the quest. And yeah, it was a really, really good book. I really enjoyed it. Definitely worth a reread in the future. And the last book that I'm going to talk about is actually a book that I listened to on audio book first, and I have since bought myself a copy, and that is Coral by Sarah Eller, and it says there is more than one way to drown, and this is very clever. This book is so clever. It is using mermaids as a kind of metaphor for mental health. Don't ask me how. It's intricate, it's clever, and it's way too special for my brain. But I loved it. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. It was a little confusing during listening to the audiobook because of all the different perspectives. You've got a couple of perspectives. You've got Coral, you've got Brooke, you've got Merrick, who's a boy. So you've got a couple of different viewpoints in this. So it did get a little confusing at certain points. But it says, red tide is coming. Coral has always been different, standing out from her mermaid sisters in a society where blending is key. Worse yet, she fears she has been afflicted with the dreaded disease, said to be carried by humans, emotions. Her sister had the disease and red tide took her away. Will it come for Coral next? And then Brooke has nothing left to give. Depression and anxiety have left her feeling isolated and forgotten. The only thing she can rely on is the numbness she finds within the cool and comforting ocean waves. So it's inspired by Hans Christian Andersen's beloved yet tragic fairy tale. Coral explores mental health and what it means to be human in a world where humanity often seems lost. So yes, very, very special book that I definitely want to reread again in the future. So that is that. Oh, hang on a minute. I've forgotten to. Bear with. So I almost forgot two books that I haven't read yet. And the first one of those is the Disney animated classics, The Little Mermaid. This one is cloth bound with foil thing. And this one is literally like, it has conceptual art from the movie whilst telling the story. So you get the story and then you get some of the artwork that was created originally for the Disney film. That scene where she's, he loves me not. She looks a little different to Ariel that we know and love. So yeah, I have that one. And I have not read this one yet. And then I have my Piece de Resistance. This book is beautiful. I have shown it before, I believe. And that is The Mermaid Handbook by Carolyn Turgeon. An alluring treasury of literature, lore, art, recipes and projects. And just, I mean, it's got, like, it's just stunning. And inside you have photos of mermaid festivals. You've got Mami Wata, so a mermaid from a different culture, recognised as a mythical figure throughout much of Africa. Rich assortment of art surrounds her, and she's often portrayed as a mermaid with a head and torso of a woman and the tail of a fish, but she can also take the form of half woman and half snake. So yeah, and we have some beautiful artwork. It's just full of information, real life mermaids, so professional mermaids as they're called. And yes, just all sorts of, even talks about the film Splash. So there. So it's just all about like the myths and legends and the culture and everything, you know, society has pulled up with mermaids, and it's just a stunning piece of work. and I still haven't finished reading it. I'm making my way through it slowly but surely, just enjoying it bit by bit. So yeah, that is my final book, I think, that I have with mermaids in them. If I've missed one, I will have to do a second video. But that is it. That is my video today, all about my mermaid books. You knew I had to do one eventually. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!